Okay, welcome to Run to the Hills, episode 19. And we thought for this Christmas edition, it's a week before Christmas, we'd get some Christmas trees. So, Eddie, I can see that you've got your Christmas tree up, and I've got I found a virtual background of a tree. It's not quite a Christmas tree, but it's a tree. I think it could be Bali, and that gave me a little sort of nice feeling that Emma and Jonas and our two grandsons, Noah and Jacob, are out there somewhere on the beach. In fact, we had a photograph this week of them on the beach in Bali, and there was one Christmas we went out to see them, and it was a very special Christmas actually, spending time with them just after Jacob was born when he was a few weeks old. Anyway, for those watching on the video, you'll see that Eddie's got a nice Christmas tree behind her, and I've got a nice scene of Bali with the waves lapping onto the beach, which is lovely.
Nowhere I'd rather be right now.
No,
I'm freezing. Right. Before we started recording, I had to go and get my slippers, didn't I, John? I said, no, it's too cold.
How was your week been? Any big sessions this week?
Oh, I've done a couple of big sessions. We, as I said last week, we had a lot of snow. So I got quite a lot of skiing in last week. And then this week, the temperatures rose a little bit and it rained. And that sort of gets rid of that top layer of snow, and underneath it leaves a wonderful layer of ice. So we have been ice baby this week, which has made life a little bit tricky because everywhere you go is sheet ice. Even to get to the car, you have to sort of the kids are amazing on it, and I'm about 200 meters behind going I don't understand. I think it must be the center of gravity. So I have managed I did one running session outside on the road and uphill, so I ran hard uphill and then did the jog recovery downhill going and then the second session I did, which was some longer uphill efforts, I just did on the treadmill, which I planned to do anyway because I just wanted to be a strong effort, and that's really hard to do outside at the moment because of the conditions. I had one lovely ski up quite high to about 2,000 meters and then we had amazing ski down until the last 100 meters when it was ice. That was lovely. And then the rest I've just been stuck inside on Swift. Sorry, John. I've done quite a bit of biking this week, but that's my whole philosophy of winter training this season is I'm just going to go with the conditions and what the good Lord gives us. I'm not going to get stressed that I haven't got as much running in, or I'm going to just go with what's out there. And if I have to train inside, or if I have to swap sessions, or if I miss sessions, I'm going to just be chilled about it, man, and see how that goes. But it's been a good week, and kids are getting the countdown. Do you remember, John, the countdown to Christmas? How many days? How many sleeps? How many days? How many sleeps? And this morning, Père Noël, as he's called here, arrived in the school playground with sleigh and horse. Huge big Père Noël who happens to live down the road, and we do actually see him leaving on his horse to go down to school in the morning. But it's magical and they love it. And then he goes around all the classrooms and they all get presents. So my oldest one, who's a bit, he's over it now, he's ready to go on to secondary school, so we know it's going to be a book. But it's so lovely. I love it. The kids' excitement of Christmas is brilliant. So we're definitely on the countdown for that now. And a bit more skiing, fingers crossed, a bit more snow. Next week, the temperatures are set to go to -20. -20. That is going to be a bit of an emotional run if I dare to go outside. So I'll update you on that. How are you, John? What have you been doing? You look buff. Have you been working out?
Well, I think one of the things about doing this podcast is I want to try and sort of put into practice the things that we're talking about. So when you did your power hour, I thought, right, I'm going to do all those sessions and see if it makes a difference. And last week we had Dave Troman on, and you and Dave was answering questions. And I must admit, I think when I'm interviewing you, I'm not listening intently because we're,
hello.
I'm
this is the story of our life, isn't it, John?
But the next day I went out for a run in the Braes, and I took the episode with me and I listened to it again, and I just thought, this is great. There's lots of really, really good advice here. And I was listening quite a bit when you were talking about the strength and conditioning. And I confess, Eddie, that I'm not someone who stretches. I'm not someone who does any strength and conditioning. I've done it now and again, but I'm just not motivated enough. And I thought, well, there was two things that stood out to me. One was when you said, as you get older, then you do need a bit more strength and conditioning. And also the winter's a good time to do it. And then Dave talked about being accountable. And I thought, well, I'm on the podcast. We're doing this each week. So I thought I would try and be accountable. And then our good friends, Jason and Kim Cavill, got in touch and said that they've got a series of videos that they've done to help people on strength and conditioning. And there was one session, the Tabata, which they said will be a good one to start. So the next morning, Katrina and myself did it in front of the telly, and it was a 20-minute session, and it's all the basic exercises. But it was really good. So I'm committing to do that at least once a week. I'm going to sort of try and do that for over the winter. And so that was my first one last week. But the thing is, Eddie, that on the Monday, when we went to the club session, we did 6 by 5 minutes. That was our session. And I could feel it. I could feel it.
I was going to ask you, could you feel it then the next day?
I could feel my stomach. I could feel one or two other muscles. And,
so, you do have some muscles.
I know. I found them somewhere. So anyway, so that was good. So I really enjoyed that. And then this week, I've been taking it a little bit easier. My Wednesday run was an easier run because tomorrow I've got my time trial. So I'm going to go round my 6.5 mile loop, which I did 5 or 6 weeks ago, and it took me just over 56 minutes. And I'm going to see whether it's my doing the sessions that I've done, a bit more speed work, what difference it's going to make. So I'm going to do a little bit of a warm up, couple of miles, and then I'm going to start from the front door, do my session, and I'm going to see if I can take a few minutes off my time from a few weeks ago.
Now, how are you going to approach that? Are you going to start steady, build into it? Are you going to go for it, hang on for as long as you can? What's the mindset you're going into with this, John?
The mindset is to do the first couple of miles pretty steady, but just on the edge maybe. So I'll be breathing hard, but not really hard, because the third mile is basically uphill. It's not really steep, but it's a gradual climb. So if I go off too quick over the first 2 miles, then I'll be struggling on that. And then the fourth mile there's one steep little hill, and then after that it's mainly downhill with 1 or 2 little ups.
Nice.
So if I can pace it right, then I should be able to do it. But like I've said before, I like to finish well. So I want to try and set off steady, not slow, steady, and then try and see if I can maintain that right through. So I'll let you know how I get on.
I will be waiting with my phone all morning.
Anyway, I thought we'd move on to our heads up. I was mentioning just there about the coaching Q&A that we did last week, and I just thought this is good, and it might get lost a little bit as a whole episode. So what I've done is I've split it up into 6 episodes and put it on our YouTube channel. And there was 2 questions that we didn't get round to. One from Claire Howard about tips for the more mature runner, which you shared a lot with. And then Dave answered Di Wilson's question about using poles. So I'll put those out as 2 separate videos. So I'll put the link to the playlist on the show notes. So if you want to listen to one, just a particular question, then you can do that. Or if you want to listen to all 6 of them, then you can do that as well.
They were both quite long, those answers, weren't they? Because we both ended up sort of answering them both. But I would definitely say if you're an older lady, the one about how you need to train differently, how you need to eat differently, how you need to recover differently, and for men as well. But that we went into quite a lot of detail on that one. And if you're thinking about doing a hilly race or a long race or a multi-stage race, about how we incorporate poles into training was another. We didn't realize we were going to go into so much detail, but there's a good discussion from both of us, because we both have got, especially about the poles, because obviously I use them a lot in training and Dave has used them for specific races. But if you're thinking that you perhaps didn't get to do UTMB or something this year, and maybe you're thinking about doing one of the big European mountain races next year, then at some point pop in and have a listen to that, and ask us any questions if you have any questions. Those are 2 topics we could have a whole podcast about.
I thought it was quite interesting because Dave doesn't use them on the downhills. You know, he's a very experienced fell runner and he doesn't feel he needs them. Whereas you obviously do use them on the downhill, don't you? So
well,
it
you
was
just see with the
interesting.
downhills here as well, they're so long. So you can climb for 2 hours and then have a 2-hour descent. So you need them on the downhill to take it off your quads if you don't, and otherwise you're just carrying them for 2 hours. So you might as well practice using them. I'm definitely better using them uphill than I am downhill. And a couple of times I've got them caught as I'm running downhill, and then you end up falling. But it takes that pressure off the quads. That's why I said, I think that's why you do need to use. But in England, of course, you just don't have those long descents. Very rare. Or perhaps the hard packed descent as well. Dave's just running on the fells, bounding through the heather.
But anyway, so I would definitely recommend you listen to that one if you're interested in their thoughts on poles. Okay, let's move to our race review. Few episodes ago, we talked about the Lakeland 100. I've done a virtual Lapland race. I don't know whether you've been following this, Eddie, but each night, Mark and Terry have been doing a live Foxcast, and I've caught some of them. They've been really good, and they've been chatting to different people and sharing their story. But it's been a really good challenge. It's a long way. If you do the full trek, it's 240 odd kilometers. It's in kilometers this time. And I've just looked on the results, and there's quite a few people that are almost there or have just finished. And then also there's a schools challenge, and quite a few of the schools that I'm involved in Glasgow have taken part. And I was looking down the list, and there's quite a few of them that are faithfully putting their miles, their kilometers in, and are getting there. And they've got until the 22nd of December to finish off their challenge. Even though a lot of schools finish today on Friday, Glasgow schools, we don't finish till next Tuesday. But I think quite a few schools are trying to finish off. So congratulations to all those that are doing that challenge and any other virtual challenges. And I think it's definitely been one of the things of this year, isn't it?
Yeah, the Marcothon is going on at the moment where you run every day in December. And my sisters always do that. And they're keen runners, but they're so committed come December. And I think Debs is a bit like, well, we've been doing this for years and now everybody's jumped on a bandwagon. But just shows how motivating they have been to people. And I hope we don't see too much of them next year, to be honest, John.
And I think there's been some that have gone so well this summer. People have said, are you going to carry them on when the races get back on? So I think one or two might, but we'll see. But yeah, we'll definitely be covering them, and we'll see what happens there during 2021. But as you say, it'd be nice if we could put them to one side and just have the proper races, wouldn't it? Let's move on to our competition winner. So this episode, we were really excited, aren't we, to announce our competition winner. And this has certainly been the biggest competition that we've done so far on Run to the Hills. So Eddie, tell us a little bit about the process and how it worked out.
Oh, my goodness, what a week we've had, John. So in the end, we had 74 entries to win the wonderful coaching prize of being coached by me and having it all documented by John. And we were overwhelmed, weren't we? I mean, thank goodness for you and your spreadsheet skills, John, by all the entries. And it was truly heartwarming to read all the entries, especially the ones that had been entered by a husband or a wife or a friend. I'd love to share with the person who was being nominated what somebody had said and encouraged. And I only wish I could have chosen everybody. It was a really hard process. Just to let you know how we did it a little bit. So John, myself, and Tim, the boss from Chia Charge, we all read them separately, and then we chose our top 10, and then we met together, and then we discussed, and then we whittled it down. And then John and I whittled it down to our top 3. And then eventually we came to this decision together, didn't we? And there were a number of factors we took in place that we hadn't really thought about perhaps before as well, about the condition of the runner, the race that the runner was going to do, and all sorts of other things came into play. But we loved reading all the nominations, and I'm only sorry, I'd love to be able to help all of you. But I'm a little pressed for time. we would just wanted to mention a couple of people whose nominations did make us laugh. So we just wanted to mention a couple of people who did some really exceptional entries that made us chuckle. Who did you like, John?
Well, I must admit, Eddie, it was a tough choice, wasn't it? And we really enjoyed, and thank you so much for everyone who's sent in a nomination and or nominated themselves. But there was one that stood out, I really made me laugh, and that was John Evans. And he gave a little poem. So this was his poem. I'm a middle-aged runner stuck in a groove, scratching my head on how to improve. I want to go faster. I want to get strong. But how should I train? And also how long? My first 100-miler is set up for May. But how do I prepare for such a big day? There are so many questions I'd like to ask. So getting a coach should be my first task. So I thought that was excellent. Well done, John.
Fire away with your questions. Send me your questions and I'll help you out.
And how about you? Any ones that you particularly stood out besides the winner?
Well, we really liked George Wade as well, didn't we? Who sent a video of himself explaining why he needed help, and then he brought in his daughter for the extra cute factor. Against a Christmas tree. I loved it. That was a well thought out entry. Well done, George.
So we'll move to our winner. So we should have a drum roll, really, shouldn't we? But yeah. So our winner was Hannah Basley, and Hannah was nominated by her husband Peter. And this is I'll just read out the reason that Peter nominated his wife Hannah. Hannah has been running for years, and she said she'd never be able to do a marathon. However, after completing the Great North Run in 2019, she finished the virtual London Marathon of 2020 before completing a 32-mile run on Halloween. She has faced a battle with her weight and was diagnosed with bronchitis, an incurable lung condition, in 2017, which set her back. Despite this, she is a determined woman and has fought to overcome this and set herself goals while balancing work and parenting 2 girls simultaneously. She has targeted the spine race in the future. Throughout the COVID pandemic, she has been the main carer for our autistic 7-year-old daughter. Despite Hannah's positive disposition, I saw her slip into depression with the pressure this caused, and has pushed herself with running as the great release for her. She has needed it more than ever during the last 12 months. Due to her determination, she will achieve any target set and will move mountains to reach her goals. She is meticulous with planning and would be a model student for any coach. Through running, she has become a wonderful role model for our daughters.
So there were lots of things, wasn't it, in that nomination that sort of touched us in all sorts of different factors. And when we set out the prize, didn't we? We said we wanted it to be somebody who'd had perhaps had a bit of a tough time this year. I love the fact that she's a mum and she's got a family and she's working and she's got to juggle all that. So we really felt that we could help her with this, and that also documenting the journey. It was going to be such a journey for her, and such an adventure getting her ready. So I'm really excited, and I'm going to have a chat with her, hopefully perhaps before our 2021 podcast. And I look forward to introducing Hannah to the listeners and everybody following along. So thank you again to everybody who put in nominations, and good luck, everybody. God, there's some big races, big challenges, but it sounds like a lot of you need to get to work really as well, frankly. And
the race that Hannah has entered is the Lakeland 50. So again, that's a race which I love. I've done the Lakeland 100 a couple of times. I know the course well. So I'm quite keen to be able to go down and video that race for her as well. So that will be part of the prize. So over the next 6 months, we'll be able to follow Hannah's journey and your coaching and helping her prepare for that race. So again, congratulations to Hannah. And again, thank you so much for everyone who's taken part. And I think this has been so successful. We may even think of doing this again in the future. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, I just wanted to give a little thank you to all those that have followed our podcast over the last 19 episodes. We took over, Eddie, in August. It had already been running for 20 episodes since April. And then when Tim asked us to get involved from April onwards, we started like series 2. So we started from 1 again, and we're up to now 19 episodes. And I just wanted to encourage people and just ask people whether they could help us share the podcast. If you go onto iTunes, and I think the majority of people tend to listen to this from iTunes, we can get all the stats, and most people seem to download it through iTunes. So if you could give us a 5-star rating, it would really help just grow the podcast a bit. And if you've got time and you wanted to write a little review, then that would be lovely as well.
Eddie is a legend. We love Eddie. I could listen to Eddie all day, that sort of thing. That's great. I could copy it. You just copy and paste stuff like that.
Okay, so if we see lots of I love Eddie, we know that you've asked all your parents, all your family, all your contacts.
Thanks, Mum. I don't think my mum would know how to even know what iTunes was, but
yeah, no, but it
the
would be
kids
great.
will. I'll get the kids on it.
Yeah, get the kids
Mum
on it.
is great.
But seriously, if you can just do that, it would be lovely just to sort of grow that. And I think that's one way that podcasts tend to grow is through those reviews. So if you do enjoy it and you do appreciate what we're doing, then that's a simple way that you could support us and help us just by giving us a 5-star rating and also a quick review. That would be lovely. So thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to move on to our main interview. We thought for our final episode before Christmas that we would have a little highlights of the year. And we invited Tim along, who's our sponsor with Chia Charge. And we spent time this week, didn't we, Eddie, just chatting together and maybe just thinking about some of the highlights of this year.
It was like a Christmas party, but without any drink, you in your jammies, me hiding in a kid's bedroom. In fact, it was actually the perfect Christmas party for 2020. It sort of sums it up a bit, doesn't it?
It had been a really wet day. We did it on the Tuesday, and my final session with my orienteer in the school, I got absolutely soaked. So I came home, had a shower, I put my pajamas on. I was ready for 5 o'clock for our interview.
Should know, 5 o'clock. That's early even for me to have my jammies on. Normally, if I do my last session, have a shower, I'm like, not before 6. Have some standards, Edwina. You cannot put your pajamas on before 6.
I was smart from the top upwards.
Let's not go into details, John.
Yeah, that's
let's
right.
not go into details.
Anyway, so we hope you enjoyed this interview. It lasted about 24 minutes. And what we did was we thought of 3 areas: our family, our work, and our running. And we just shared some of the highlights of our year. Welcome to our Christmas edition of Run to the Hills. As we mentioned, we had a good idea just to have a little review of the year and pick out some of our highlights. And it's great to have Tim Taylor with us. He's got his banner behind him from Chia Charge, who's our sponsor of Run to the Hills. So it's great to have Tim. And we thought between the 3 of us, we would share some highlights of the year.
We've got the boss, John. So we better, I see you've got your suit on. We better mind our P's and Q's. It's like the Christmas party when the boss comes.
Yeah.
Hope there's is there a photocopier in the Chia Charge office?
You're joking, aren't you? No chance.
So we thought for this episode, we'd have a little chat about the year gone by. Are 3 different topics, and the first one we're going to have a little chat about is our families and how that has how it's been a bit different with the family this year, spending a little bit more time with them. Tim, we don't know much about your family.
We've been really lucky this year. We've not had any, it's going to sound a bit cliche to say, we've been so blessed and lucky, but, no one in our close family has caught COVID. So like, there's a gold star straight away.
Yeah.
We have probably spent as much time, certainly out of lockdown, with seeing our little nieces who are 4 and 8. So we love to see them regularly. And out of lockdown, we got to take them up to Coniston for the week. And so the highlight of our holiday up there was taking Daisy and Poppy up to the top of Coniston. She's 4 years old and didn't need any help. Didn't need any help at all. So we were like, this is great. She's going to go running around mountains forever. She's going to be a champion. Fantastic. So that was really cool. We enjoyed having a holiday up there and, going on the beach at Coniston and paddling about in boats and stuff. So it's great that the family's well. I got to see my boys 2 or 3 times, which is probably kind of average get into their 30s or in their 30s. So, you know, it's been great. You know, we're healthy and everyone's well and no one's caught anything. So it's been fine. I'm happy.
Well, we've had it a bit different. It's actually been lovely as well, because my husband normally works away abroad a ton. And as you all know, because I go on about it all the time, that we live in the mountains, but we do live in the middle of nowhere. And often he's away for quite a long time and I won't see other people. And I got 3 kids. It's a lot of work by myself normally to juggle everything, work, training, and then whatever the kids are doing. And it's all down to me. And you know, any single parents out there, kudos, because that end of the day, there's nobody else to unpack the dishwasher. There's just nobody else to fold that bit of laundry or to go, I'll make tea. And so though I know it's been a really hard year for everyone, I have just felt so lucky that I've had all this quality time. And fortunately for us, me and my husband, we find each other really good company and hilarious. We were all sort of laughing at each other, but that relationship, so many times this year, I've gone, oh, I made a good choice there. I've made a good choice there. That I've actually loved spending so much time with him. And with the kids, I mean, my kids, they had a ton of time. We had, as you know, again, I've gone on about proper lockdown here, where they didn't see another person for 6 weeks. They didn't go to school. They weren't allowed out for more than an hour, and they were amazing. They entertained themselves. They just went outside, they played outside, they did their schoolwork. And at the end of the 6 weeks, I said to them, how long do you think you've been at home for? You know, how long do you think the confinement has gone on for? And they were like, oh, they sort of chatted about it and they went, 2 days. So I think that sort of like summed up that. I was like, you know, when you question yourself as a parent, are you doing the right thing or not? You sort of think, well, my kids are really happy. That's all I personally want to give as a parent, the ability for my kids to be happy in themselves, to be able to entertain themselves, to be buddies with each other. And I think this year has shown that to me. So I feel very lucky that though I've really missed seeing my mum and dad and my sisters and extended family, I haven't got to see that I've had my little nucleus of family. So happy. So very happy with that. What about you, John? Because you've got hundreds of kids all over the world.
That's right. Well, we have 4 daughters and 3 are married, and they've been great at providing lovely grandchildren for us. So we've got 7 grandchildren and we've got an 8th on the way in January. But Ethan
gosh, that's going to be good Christmas news. Gosh, the podcast after Christmas is going to be exciting.
That's right. So we had a lockdown baby, or Josh and Laura did. It was their 3rd. So Ethan was born in early June, and they live in Paisley, so we do see them a fair bit. And he's just over 6 months old now, and he's at that stage where when you catch his eye, he just gives you that massive big smile, and it just melts your heart. So it's it's definitely a real highlight. And I love being a dad. I love our girls, and I love them growing up. And I must admit, through the teenage years, that was a bit of a challenge when we had 4, because we had twins and then 2 years and 2 years. So during that the teenage years, it was always fun. I think I can count on one hand how many meals we had where one of them didn't storm off and bang the door, you know. But
4
now
girls as teenagers. Wow,
right.
John.
I think that was the
with
reason.
Your sunny disposition.
I think that was the reason I got into ultra running, because I needed to get away and and run. No, I take that back. No, they're lovely, and they're lovely adults, and we're very, very proud of them. But it's lovely that they're providing us with so many grandchildren. But I must admit, I love being a dad, but I just really enjoy being a granddad. It's just so much fun. I think because you've got a little bit more time, I think, and you're not having to worry about making sure they're staying alive and they're eating and they're well fed and they're sleeping. You can just do all the fun things. So I absolutely love it. And that's a great time. I think the other highlight family-wise has been my mum. My mum is 90, and she's been on her own since my dad died in 2009. So it's been a while. And over this year, it's been a tough time for my mum. She lived on her own, and she stayed with my sister during lockdown. And then she's moved into a nursing home now, into a care home near Wrexham, where my sister lives. And she's doing so well. And that has been a highlight. And I think one of my highlights was this year we had a weekend with her, and we spent a weekend. And I think, it's going to be probably the longest time I'll spend with my mum, because We can't visit her at the moment anyway because of the lockdown, obviously. But even in the future, it's only going to be the odd hour or two. Was just having with that. And we went for a walk in Delamere Forest, and we talked about lots of memories of Dad and growing up as kids. And it was just lovely, and just been able to tell her how much we love her, and we're going to look after her as she gets, as she gets older. So I think looking back, that was a real highlight. So almost the opposite ends. We've got new birth in Ethan, and we've got my mum at the other end, and all the ages in between. So that's a little summary or highlights of our family. And we thought the next area would be our work. And so Eddie, tell us a little bit about some of the highlights that you've had this year in your work.
Well, the year started off so well, pretty much as per normal, going through with my athletes, all the exciting races they're going to do, making the plans, spend a bit of time working out how the year's going to go. And then kaput, we're just going to cancel all of that. So work has been a bit different, and I'd love to, I have loved the way that my athletes have responded to this. I mean, a coach, I work with a ton of people, and almost 99.9% of them have carried on with such motivation and such enthusiasm. And I think it's proven to everybody, hasn't it, that it's not about the races, it's the love of running. And personally, for me, from work, I've really enjoyed having to think outside the box, and either people coming to me and going, I'm going to do this virtual challenge, I'm going to run this many miles, I'm going to do this much climbing. And normally I'd be like, no, stop, you're going to get injured. But then this year it's kind of been like, well, let's go for it, let's see what happens. And I've loved embracing that with athletes and seeing them push the boundaries and seeing them do different things and finding different ways that they can train at home, and really having to stretch myself as well to think, okay, this person, how can I motivate this person? How can I challenge this person? What can I think different thinking? I mean, the millions of different sessions I've had to think up, okay, so what this week can we do that's going to keep them thinking, keep them improving, not knacker them out too much. I don't want anybody. And also working with people post-COVID, coming back from illness. It's been such a challenging year, but also so fulfilling in such a different way that I thought. I mean, I personally don't want to rewrite another plan again when I've written someone's plan on the web race, and then Boris has gone, we're in lockdown again. I thought, oh my God, another 30 plans to rewrite, but hopefully I've done it with good grace. What about you, John? Bit different in schools?
From where I was this time last year to where I am now, I've made some big decisions work-wise, actually, because I work with active schools in Glasgow City Council, and I've been doing that for the last 10, 11 years, so a full-time job. But I've always wondered whether I've got one more change of job in me, whether there's one more thing I'd love to do. And yeah, and I think during lockdown, I decided that I've always loved doing my podcasts and my videos and sharing my journey of my running. And so I thought, what could I do during lockdown that would help the running community, particularly the ultra running community? So I decided to do these live interviews. So I did 2 a week for 12 weeks. So I did 24 live interviews. And I'm not saying I got thousands and thousands of hits, but I got a good few hundred each time. And I just really enjoyed doing them. And I started thinking, I wonder if when lockdown finishes and we get back to some sort of normality and races start, I started thinking maybe I'd like to develop my own YouTube channel and do a podcast, which was going to be basically reviewing races and try and get people involved. So I thought I'd give myself 6 months and I would try and do this off my own back and see if it was, there's a gap there, whether it would be any use. And then Tim got in touch with me from Chia Charge and said that he would like me to be involved in his run to the hills. And looking back, it was just amazing, really, because it was something I wanted to do and I was going to do in my own time. And Tim said he'd be happy to be able to sponsor this venture. And so we were able to negotiate and say, right, I'll go to 4 days a week with active schools, and I'll do a day a week for Chia Charge on Friday, and start the podcast and the YouTube channel, or continue the podcast that had been running for a few months, and start the YouTube channel. And Eddie, you came on board as well, and we're now up. This is our 19th episode. And when I think back to where I was this time last year to where I am now, I'm just really, really grateful. And where the future goes and where the podcast and the YouTube channel, I'm not sure. but I hope it'll continue to develop and give me the opportunity to be able to do what I really enjoy doing. So I think, work-wise, I still really enjoy my active schools work, and we've had some challenges during lockdown, but we've done lots of virtual events that I've been very involved in, and I've enjoyed that as well, encouraging young people to do little challenges, whether it's running or different exercises that we've had them doing. And that's been good as well. So yeah, it's been an interesting year. So
I'd just like to say, John, to go with that podcast, is that when Tim asked me to do it, I said yes. And then I had a massive panic because I thought, I haven't got time. I can't do this. What am I doing? I already have a job. I'm trying to train 500 hours a week. I can't do it. And you have done so much to, in the background of the podcast, you do the bulk of the heavy horse work, and I do all the talking, and you tell me to pipe down a bit. But I never thought that I would enjoy it as much as I did chatting our Friday morning long chats. And you have, I would never been able to do it, I don't think, with anybody else apart from you, because your love of talking, not just, and I love the way you love talking to all sorts of the different people. You find these people. I often say, where do you find these people, John? And the way that you get them to tell their stories. So the work that you've done this year, I think you should be so proud of that, and where you want to go in the future as well. And perhaps if, lockdown hadn't happened and those videos hadn't happened, it's amazing that the journey that you take. Sorry for interrupting you, but I just wanted to pop that in there.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think that does lead in well to Tim, because we've been really grateful, Tim, for your sponsorship of Run to the Hills. And so we thought it'd be nice for you to give an opportunity for you as well, just to share about your highlights for Chia Charge in this year and how it's gone.
Okay, thanks, John. So the thing I've got to tell you is that before that latest interjection from Edwina, I was timing everything. And John had actually spoken more than Edwina at that point. Edwina's managed to pull it back so that she still talk more than all of us together. Just to let you know that.
I'm glad Tim's focused on the discussion. Me and John are there practically crying over our emotion of the year. And Tim's going, and we're timing. Oh, she's still talking. She's still talking.
Work's been great this year for us. We've been really lucky. The year's been good. There's been ups and downs in different parts of the business. Obviously, it's been sad that loads of the running shops have been shut. So, we haven't been supplying so much to all the running shops and the outdoor shops and the climbing walls and all that kind of stuff. And that's sad, because that's people's livelihoods. As a business, we've kind of cracked on and made hay while we could, because guess what? We all know e-commerce has gone quite well. So our online store's gone really well. And in lockdown, we would do, I probably not that well known, but I do a bit of CrossFit during the week. It's probably more my main sport than running. And, the weather was so good in lockdown. We had barbells and boxes and weight plates and dumbbells all out in the car park out there, which is pitch black now. But in lockdown, it was bright sunshine. It felt like it was sunshine every day for about 8 weeks. And so we were out there because there were no cars in the car park, of course. Work's gone really well for us. I failed to mention Lisa, who's in that office behind me, packing something. And I should have mentioned her in the family bit as well. So I'm probably going to get reprimanded for that. But if we just skate over that point, everything's been fine. We're, very happy, very lucky to be here. And, at the risk of joining in the big loving, I'm really pleased with what you two are doing as well. So
join it, Tim. Join the loving.
Oh no, I can't.
You could see that was gritted teeth, wasn't it?
Give me a bottle of wine. Give me a bottle of wine.
Goes all of you.
And then I think I'm supposed to introduce running, John. We're going to have a chat about running. Each of us have a minute or four.
He likes us to talk a bit about running on the podcast, otherwise he gets angry.
That's
Says
right.
we diverse.
Yeah, so it's my turn to start. So I'm timing myself here. I think for me, the highlights have been a few. I've done 2 virtual races. The West Highland Way race was obviously one of the ones that was cancelled with all the others. And we did a 95-mile virtual race. And that was just during the end of lockdown. So I did most of it. Well, I did all of it from the house. So that was 95 miles in 9.5 days. And it was just great being involved in the community. I'm on the committee of the West Highland Way. I look after the website and stuff. So we had a celebration night at the end of it, which I hosted and put together. So that was a real highlight. And then I did the Lakeland 100, and I've never ran 100 miles in 1 week in training. I've obviously done races that length and longer, but not while I've been working full time. And so I found that a real challenge to try and do that. And I really enjoyed it. And again, Mark Laithwaite and the Lakeland team, they had evening celebrations, which I was helping to host with them and on the background. So those two things were really good. And then I was able to do one ultra, and that was the Hardmoors 55. So it was nice to actually get one ticked off this year, because my long-term goal is to try and do 100 ultras by the time I'm 70. And I've done 51 now. So I need to do sort of 5 a year. So I'm a bit behind on this year. So I'm going to have to catch up over the next few years, I think. But yeah, they would be my highlights. So Tim, you've just confessed that you're more CrossFit, but have you got any running highlights?
Well, I suppose hearing you mention the 55 was kind of like, oh, that was my low light. That's my second DNF of my running career. So we did a lot of running during the summer, me and Lisa, and we were lucky because when we were out of lockdown, we were able to do quite a few longer runs around the North Yorkshire moors. And it was really nice to get out and do some sort of 15, 20, 30-mile runs. And I really enjoyed them because there was no pressure on anyone. It was just a case of getting out early on a Saturday or a Sunday morning and getting those runs in, and that was great. And in the earlier lockdown as well, I was getting into doing 5K, doing 3 or 4 5Ks during the week. So I really quite enjoyed my running in the early part of the year. And the DNF at the Hardmoors was really more about the amount of time that we'd lost, because me and Lisa had agreed to run it together. And by the time Lisa decided she was pulling out, I kind of just felt, you know what, I don't think this is going to be a good finish. So why don't I just finish it? Why don't I not finish it rather than finish it badly? And because, I probably would have been a bit further ahead if we hadn't been running together. So I'm really happy with the running this year. We're just in the middle of doing the Lapland virtual ultra, if that's the right language. So we're doing the short course. And we walked up to Helmsley on Saturday, which is about 30 miles from York. So that was like our first long bit of it. And then, we're just looking forward to working our way through the rest of that 89-mile route in the next week. So, it's cool. Everything's cool. And I've actually just got a program off my coach. Not a running coach, Eddie. Don't get all irate with me. I've just got a program off my coach for mobility and strength work.
Good.
I hate mobility. I mean, do I hate mobility with a passion? I really do.
I can see. I've been wanting to tell you to get your shoulders back throughout this whole interview.
You see the rest of me slouching as well.
At least you're not in your pajamas.
Yeah, but you don't know, do you? I've got my budgie smugglers on.
Oh, it's Christmas party. It really is a Christmas party.
Come on, Eddie. What about your running highlights?
Oh gosh, running highlights. Well, I'm actually super proud of myself for this year, because I did actually do a race back in the echelons of February. I came over to England and did the XRNLG Pilgrims Challenge. And now I look back on it, I did it in the middle of winter here. So there's not a ton of running that goes on in the winter here for me. And I came over and I'd done it a couple of years before, and I died on the second day. And my whole plan was, right, I'm going to run steady on the first day and I'm going to run really strong second day, which I did. I was really pleased. Now I look back, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd absolutely caned that race and hadn't saved myself for the super season I'd had planned, which never happened. But never mind. I'm glad I got to do a race and see some of my buddies. I've had a massive, without any races and being at home all the time and having my husband at home has actually allowed me to do a load of really good training. I had really good training block into South Downs Way 100. I did a ton of meters for the Centurion virtual challenge, the climbing. I did a huge week, biggest I've ever done, and that enabled me to really practice my technical climbing and my descending. I've run more miles, I think almost 700 more miles this year than I've ever done before. And
Wow.
the biggest thing for me is that I haven't been injured. And since I had my third child, every single year I've had quite a serious injury, and I'm absolutely sure that coming back from the third child, I came back too early. This is wisdom for every mum out there. One child okay, two child okay. That third child, she really did it for my body. Love her though. And I came back too early, thinking that it would be the same. But of course, 3 pregnancies is huge on the body. I came back too early, and since then, I've managed to I just get myself fit, and then I get injured. So this lockdown, with classes and stuff moving on to Zoom, I've really, really concentrated on my strength and mobility, and I have not, fingers crossed, had an injury all year, and yet I've done my biggest volume, and I'm absolutely sure that's because I've really focused on that strength. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm quite excited going into next year with this newfound wisdom about how I'm going to train and how I'm going to be really strong. And of course, I'm going to forget it all next year as soon as races start and go, I'm just going to run really, really fast all the time.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's that hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight into the highlights of this year for us. And it'd be lovely to hear what other people's highlights were, wouldn't it, guys? You know, so if you want to share on our Facebook page what your highlights have been on those areas, family, work and running, or anything else, we'd love to hear. And I think one of the things that we have loved doing, haven't we, Eddie, Tim, over the last few months, is building this sort of community up, and people taking part and people commenting and leaving messages. And that's been really good. So thank you so much. If you've been a regular listener to Chia Charge, to Run to the Hills from April when it started, and certainly since August when Eddie and myself have been involved. So thank you so much. And we hope that you will continue to listen to us in the new year and the years to come. So thank you very much. And I wish you both a lovely Christmas, and everyone else who's listening.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy Christmas.
So as we said in the interview there, if you'd like to share your highlights, then we'd love to hear from people, wouldn't we, Eddie? It'd be lovely to hear what stood out. And I think one of the things we were keen to do is try and pick out some of the positives. We know it's been a tough year for everybody, but we also wanted to try and pick out some of the good things and some of the highlights.
I absolutely, and so many times, probably like other people as well, I've had to touch base again and go, think of the positives, think of all this. Don't focus on the fact of what you can't do. Focus on all the great stuff that has happened at home. And let's not beat around the bush. It hasn't all been puppies and roses, but there's been some lovely times as well that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So hopefully we've highlighted that in the interview. And yeah, we'd love to hear yours, especially anything family or running related or both connected. You know, lots of people found that their kids have been encouraged to go running, or they've done sort of from seeing their parents do virtual challenges and things at home. So yeah, pop something on Facebook. We love reading it, don't we, John? We promise not to cry. So what have we got lined up? Because I'm going to have a little holiday, because let's face it, everyone needs a holiday from Eddie at some point. So we are going to go a little bit, I'm going to go a little bit quieter over Christmas, and you've got some great episodes still prepared for us. So people can still listen. What have you got lined up?
Yeah, what I thought we'd do is over the next 2 weeks. So next Friday will be Christmas Day, and then the following Friday is New Year's Day. So I've got 2 podcasts prepared, and basically it's the audio of the live interviews that I did. So in September, I interviewed Donnie Campbell just after he did all the Munros. And I know a lot of people listen to that on the YouTube, but maybe if you don't follow the YouTube channel, you won't have heard that. So that will be the audio of that interview with Donnie. And then New Year's Day, I'll put out the interview I did with Nikki Spinks. And again, that was a lovely interview. It was great to chat to her about her running and the double Bob Graham and all the other things that she's done. And that will go out. So the next 2 episodes will be slightly different, but there'll be the audio of the live interviews that we did in September and October. So I hope you enjoy those. And then we'll be back together on the 8th of January in 2021. And we'll be looking forward to the new year. And hopefully we'll have Hannah on that episode as well. And then we'll start to plan for the coming year. We've got lots of ideas, and we're ready for next year. We want to cover lots of races, and we want to be involved again and be able to share the stories of people, not just in the front end of the race, but throughout the race. So yeah.
And I think that's what lots of people have really enjoyed, hearing other people's stories from all sorts, and I have as well. I loved it. All sorts of walks of life, all sorts of different experiences, how people have coped with adversity. And I'm sure it makes me a better runner as well, as hearing as I'm running and I'm listening to them and I'm thinking, God, these people are so, I think I'm tough. And then I hear people and I think, gosh, these people are so tough and have been through so much, and then come back so positively and want to share their story. I just think, wow, people are amazing. Amazing.
Yep. And just on that, if there's someone that you think you would like for us to interview, if you've got recommendations of somebody, or even yourself, maybe you've got a story that you'd like to share on the podcast, then do get in touch and we'll be able to fit that in hopefully as well. So we are open and looking for ideas that you would like to hear, people that you'd like to contact. And if you want to contact me, John Kinniston at chiacharge.co.uk, or just go through the Facebook page. I'm sure you can find a way of getting in touch with me, no problem. And we look forward to. So, I think we just need to say Merry Christmas to everyone, don't we, Eddie?
Yes, happy Christmas, everybody. I hope Father Christmas comes to you all. I hope there's some new running socks for everybody under the tree. It's what I'm hoping for. What about you, John?
Well,
what's on your list?
I must admit, Eddie, I've had a big present this Christmas because, well, one of the things that I wanted to do in the coming year is to be able to go to races and be able to do some live videos and then be able to post them from that. So I've actually got a MacBook for Christmas. So it means when I travel and when we go to races, I'll be able to take the video, edit it, and then put it out there. So that's my big present for Christmas.
That's exciting.
I know. Yeah.
Gosh, the content will get even better. You didn't think it could get any better, John.
Yeah. Anyway, so I wish you a Merry Christmas, Eddie, and your family, and everyone else who's listening. And we look forward to seeing you in 2021. So I'm John Kinniston, and this was episode 19.
I'm Eddie Sutton. Happy Christmas, everybody, and let's run to the hills.